Yo, what's up guys? In this video, we're finally going to talk about the Lamello Zeta P2. Get tons of questions on this, so we're going to cover them in this video. Here we go. All right, so first of all, let me just say that this is not a sponsored video. I'm not sponsored by Lamello. I wish I was. I guess I'm not as cool as like Matt Moore, but no, in all seriousness, not sponsored, but I get so many questions about this. Honestly, the most questions I get are about spraying and about this machine. So we're going to cover the basics of this. I'm going to assume that you don't even know what this is and what it does. So we'll cover what it does, how I use it, and if it's worth it for you to have one, because it's not a cheap tool, but it is amazing. So we're going to cover all those bases, and I don't even use this thing to its full capabilities. I've had this for 3 years. I bought this in 2021, actually right around this time, and I'm just going to share the things that I use it for, because there's some things that it can do that I don't even use it for. So it can do a lot more than what I've done with it. But yeah, that's what those are the things that we're going to cover in this. So first of all, let me give a shout out to some Patreon members. We do have the Patreon up and running. We do have a new member this week, Bill W. Thanks, man. Thanks for joining the Patreon team over there. Hopefully you guys are following me on Instagram. I'm on TikTok, we have a Facebook, and we have all the social platforms. So check us out. Follow me over there. All right, let's get into this thing. So what does this thing do? This is, think of a biscuit joiner. Essentially functions as like a biscuit joiner, right? What it does, the cutter goes in, and then it has a special cutter on it, so it goes in and then it does a little wobble up and down at the end, which you can see right here, and it makes a groove in the back. So that groove is for the biscuits, and they're called, these for instance are called tensos. They don't call them biscuits, but what they do is they slide into that joint, which you can see here. So it makes that groove so these can slide in and it cannot pull out, right? This one goes in the other end. So you have a male and a female, and then they snap together. Hear that click? That's a beautiful sound. So that's what it does. That's what the machine does. It makes that slot. Now there's different types of biscuits, or clips. I always am calling them clips. But so these are called tensos. And these are P14s, that's the size. These are the larger ones. They do have smaller ones. These essentially eliminate the need for clamps, is what they do. Each one of these is 33 pounds of clamping pressure. So that's pretty awesome. What do I use the tensos for? So I use these the most for fillers and things like that. You guys have seen in previous videos how I do my cabinet fillers. I will explain again real quick. So this was my plywood piece that gets screwed to the side of my box, and this was my filler going to the wall. I do double biscuits there. So this one in the middle of the piece is 3/4 offset from the edge. So that means when I go to scribe this to the wall, I can put this on in that middle biscuit, so it'll be here and it'll be 3/4 offset, and I can set my scribe to 3/4, scribe it, and then I can bring it back and put the biscuits in this front piece, and then it'll be locked in flush and it'll be scribed tight to the wall. But with these, each one of these is 33 pounds of clamping pressure, the tensos, the P14s. So if you have a bunch of these, you're able to pop things off, but it's kind of tricky. So what I use, they may also make these, they're called biscos, and they're just these kind of big, fat, wide biscuits that are plastic, and they sit in these biscuit slots because these are much thicker than a normal biscuit. So I'll use these for my offset biscuits, just so I can put them in there, put this thing on the piece, scribe it, take it back, and then put my tensos in and snap it on, and it works really well. But that is typically what I'm using tensos for the most, is fillers. And it's awesome because I can have my pre-painted or pre-stained and pre-finished fillers. I can cut them and I can snap these on to my piece with a little bit of glue, and I don't have to have any fasteners, no visible fasteners, no nails, no pocket screws, nothing like that. It's fast, and you snap this thing on and it's done, and you can just walk away. So pretty amazing. They also really work well for crown and putting face frames on. I originally bought this because I was doing an inset kitchen. I wanted to be able to paint all the face frames and then snap them onto the boxes when they were done, and not have to worry about scratching things up and pocket screwing things or clamping face frames on. I've done jobs too. I actually just did those little built-ins because I was waiting to get this back. You glue your face frames on and then mask off all the boxes and everything and spray them like that, which is a lot of work. So that's originally why I bought this, because I had a big inset job I was doing and I wanted to just be able to paint all my frames and then snap them onto the box. So that's why I bought this, and it works amazing for that. So that's the tensos. These essentially, just think of it like a regular biscuit slot, but they snap together and you don't need to use any clamps. These are the clamps. 33 pounds of clamping pressure each, which is pretty good. Then we move on to another one called the Clamex. All right, so what the Clamex does is basically has this little locking thing in one side, which you'll see, and it slides in and pulls it tight. These apply 200 pounds of clamping pressure, which is nuts. So these are great for miters, stuff like that, picture frames, casing even. These are great for stuff that you want to be able to take back apart easily, that needs to be broken down. The only thing with these is you have to drill, there's another step, you have to drill another hole. So you do the biscuit slot, and then you have this little jig here, which you put into the slot, and then it has the hole there, and you just drill the hole because you need access to the Allen wrench, the keyhole there, to clamp this thing together. But these are amazing. I love these things. I don't use them as much as I use the tensos, but for certain applications, these are incredible. They, yeah, they're really just fantastic. I love them for, like I said, miters and stuff like that, because the amount of clamping pressure that these provide, things are not going to move. So that's really awesome. No glue, nothing. I mean, that thing is tight. That is a solid joint. So you add glue on that thing, and then this thing is never coming apart. So I do want to snap this thing on here for you so you can hear it, because the snap, when you hear everything just locked together, it's pretty satisfying. And 4 of these in this piece is a lot. Like, this is gonna, it's a lot of clamping pressure. So, and they also make, say you're doing a face frame and you have a bunch of them around, it can be a little tricky to get these lined up, because you need to get the center of this lined up with the center of the female end. So if you have a big face frame, it can be a little tricky to get everything lined up before you snap them together. So they make, I can't remember what they're called, they make these little things that you can put on to the male end, and it just opens it up a little bit wider, and it gives you a little bit, it just makes it easier to get everything lined up. That thing is locked in. All right, so obviously this is a specialty tool, a luxury tool, I guess some would say. It's not for everybody. It's not going to be justifiable for everybody to purchase. It's not cheap, but it is a really cool machine, and the technology and everything that they've come up with is pretty amazing. So let me just kind of answer a few more of the questions I get about this. To be able to use these connectors, you have to have this machine. You cannot make this slot with even the Lamello, the regular biscuit joiners and stuff like that. That's a question I get a lot. You can't. You have to have this machine to be able to do that. and use these connectors. How do I justify the price of this thing and the price of the connectors and all that into my projects? So for me, it's typically, I'm usually by myself, or I have one other guy helping me. So anything that can make me more efficient and make things go faster and smoother and end up with a better finished product, because you don't have any fasteners or anything like that, is worth it to me, is, you know, within reason. But this, so we'll go over the pricing. This, the corded one, when I bought this, the cordless one wasn't out yet. So the corded one, I believe, is around $1,700 right now. The cordless one, I think, is like $2,200. So they're not cheap. Not a cheap machine. So the tenso connectors, I think they're around, like, if you buy 1,000 of them, they're like 87 cents a piece, something like that. So they're not cheap. They're almost $1 a piece. So if you've got a face frame with, say you got a big face frame you're putting on with 20 of them on it, you got to think, well, all right, that's almost 20 bucks. But it all depends on how you think about your work and how you think about your workflow and all that sort of thing. So for me, I think of it like this. If I have a job where, if I have a full house package that I'm doing, right, and say I use a whole box of 300 of these on this whole job, and we'll just say, for round numbers, say it's a $80,000 project. On an $80,000 project, I used a box of 300 of these. That was $280, whatever it was. And it saved me hours of time. What's that 280 bucks? My time is worth money. The longer it takes me to do stuff, the less money I'm making, right? Time is money in this whole thing. So I kind of look at it like that, you know? I get comments on when people see me using these, and they'll say, well, that was, you know, you got 20 bucks or you got $30 just putting that face frame on. I'm looking at the big picture, and it's this system, it's just not going to be for everybody, right? But that's how I look at it. So it's saving me time. If I had a house filled with, say I had 40 fillers to go around the house and scribe in and everything, if I described those and then I had to take the piece off the side of the box and pocket hole everything in and then reattach it, that's a lot of time. These, I can scribe it, slide my biscuit slot in, snap it on, done. So it's saving me tons of time. I could probably do that whole house full of fillers in half the time that somebody else could do if they were pocket screwing them on. So that time right there probably paid for the connectors. Now, I've had this thing, like I said, for over 3 years, and it's definitely paid for itself. This has saved me tons and tons of time. So that's kind of how I look at it, and I justify the price of all this stuff. I kind of work it into my projects. Who's this thing for? In my opinion, this is for cabinet makers, right? If you're just kind of a hobby guy building furniture in your garage or whatever, this probably isn't the tool for you, because like I said, it's very expensive, and yeah, it just the cost of this probably wouldn't be your best option, right? But for guys like me, cabinet guys who are in the shop at the bench every day, I mean, I would highly, highly recommend this thing. And it's gonna, like I said, I bought this. It's gonna take you a little time to really get used to it. And like I said, there's more things that this thing can do in different connectors that I don't even use. But when I first bought it, I bought it strictly to put these painted face frames on boxes, and I glued them and snapped them on, and they were done. As time started to go on and I started to implement this more into my projects, I started to change the way I did things, the way I attach crown, the way I attach my fillers. It just slowly, I started to implement this more into my projects to where, wow, now I'm using this thing all the time. If you get one, the more you use it, the more creative you'll get with it, and then you see other guys stuff they're doing with it online and on Instagram and YouTube and stuff like that. So it's really awesome. You're a cabinet guy, highly recommend this. You know, if you haven't seen my regular biscuit joiner and domino video, I kind of talk about the two of those. In my mind, cabinet guy, I would have this over a domino, this and a regular biscuit joiner, because I still love my regular biscuit joiner. I use that for things as well, but that's really it. I'm not like a Lamello expert, and you know, there's definitely other guys out there who have a lot more information and the technical side of all these things and different applications and things you can do with it. such guys as like Matt Moore or Keith Johnson or something like that. Hopefully you learned something, learned about a cool tool, this thing. And that's really it, guys. That's really it. We are back to project video next week, and it's one that I'm actually pretty stoked about. Torsion box. Building a totally new workbench right here because I need a dead flat surface because we're making some big interior doors, which is going to be awesome. And we need a flat surface for vacuum bag to glue veneers on. That will be next week's video, is a torsion box assembly table. Yeah, I'm excited because this bench is not flat. It is all over the place. But if you guys have questions, make sure you let me know about this thing. And that's it. Like, comment, subscribe. Get some merch in the store down below. You can get the link to that. All my socials are down below. Patreon, whatever. I appreciate you guys. The page is, or the channel's doing well. We are having fun making these videos, and yeah, we're just going to keep going. We are going to keep it going. So, talk to you guys soon.